Hello Wargamers, it's me Callum from Tabletop Banter, and in today's video we are going to do something a little bit different and check out the list that I'll be taking up to Warhammer World. That's right, so obviously as I've mentioned before, and as you'll be able to tell from this series, I am going to Warhammer World with Mike from Crew Angelicillis, and I'll be meeting Harry up there, and we'll be having a 4,000 points per side game. Now Harry and I sat down and worked on a list together. We've got a little wiggle room. It's more of a rough outline at the moment, but it's pretty much there. And what I'm going to do is, well, show you now the list we're taking. And I'm trying a new little format out with it, trying to get it to work on this recording application I use at the moment, XSplit. And so without further ado, here it is. So it's, like I said, something a little bit different. I know the black screen is not always super clear. Unfortunately, but like I said, I'm trying to incorporate a bit of this video of me, and then obviously to that side you can see the list, and I've got it so that I can actually just scroll through the list like this, and so we can go through unit by unit and sort of have a look at it together. Without further ado, the first thing we decided that would pretty much be an auto-include in this list was a Knight Paladin. Reason being, we're going up against a Reaver Titan. And they're scary, but they're not super strong in combat as long as you have something that can basically avoid stomp. Now, this being a super heavy walker, it avoids stomp, so you know we get a few attacks. It's a D-strength weapon in close combat with its chain blade or whatever it's called, the Reaper chainsword, I can't remember, but that's really handy. And it'll also have the battle cannon as well. Definitely something worth taking, in my opinion. Next up, we're looking at, there are a couple of formations from the Dark Angels that I'll be bringing. So the first is the Deathwing Redemption Force. Now basically the rules for this one is they have to start in reserve, but they can choose the turn they come in. And when they do arrive, they can run and shoot, or shoot and run. So, I mean, it's not great, but I wanted to take Deathwing. So, taking a Company Master, he has a Chain Fist and a Combi Melter, and that is it. Well, he's in Terminator armor, obviously. And he is going to be accompanied by one unit of 5 Deathwing Knights. They're sort of the Storm Shield, Mace of Absolution chaps. So some pretty cool rules with the Mace of Absolution, and we'll look at those in a second. But I'm also taking 2 identical Terminator squads with an Assault Cannon and a Chain Fist upgrade in each. The Sergeant also has a Chain Fist. So obviously there are the stats. If you don't know the application I'm using, it's Battle Scribe. It's fairly decent. It does make mistakes every now and again, but I've got the codices for this stuff, and before we head up I'll do a double check. Now, like I said, the Mace of Absolution, so there are 2 ways you can use it. The standard way is a strength +2 AP3 melee concussive, so that's pretty good if you want to like hack through Marines. You know, they're getting 2 attacks base, 3 on the charge, and they're dishing out wounds to Marines. But you can, oh, so Daisy, you can trade that for the Smite mode, which basically means you reduce each model to only 1 attack, which isn't great, but it becomes strength ×2 AP2 at initiative. So there are occasions when you do want that, obviously. As we scroll down to the next little formation I'm bringing, which is the Ravenwing Attack Squadron. So this is the cheapest sort of little formation you can take, and what it allows is basically the ability to deep strike your Terminators without scattering if they're within 12 of either of these units. Really handy. Obviously we've got an attack bike on his own with a multi-melter, and a land speeder with a multi-melter, and that is it. I really only wanted this so that I allowed me to take more Deathwing basically, and maintain the ability to not scatter with deep striking. Up next we have an allied detachment of Astra Militarum. Something nice and small. It's all coming from Harry's stuff. Saint Celestine is not technically part of this allied detachment, however, she appears later on as the HQ choice for an Inquisitorial detachment, and we couldn't get her to fit in that using this application. So I'll go over her in this section, but just bear in mind that this is okay to take because she's actually being part of the Inquisitorial detachment I will mention later. But firstly, we've got a Ministoran Priest because Zealot is a good thing, and those war hymns can be handy, and when you see what he'll be joining, it'll make a bit of sense. So obviously, like I said, we're taking Celestine. Hopefully Harry's got a painter up, but she should be done because Harry's pretty quick at painting. And Basically, the main reason we wanted Celestine and her buddies was because it provided us with some Eternal Warrior, which is pretty handy, especially when you just want to park her in the front of a unit. She's quick, and she's probably quite attuned to taking out Marines more than anything else, which is really good because there are going to be bodies to chew through, and although she can do jack all against the Reaver Titan, she can well, I say that, she could, because I think she's Armor Bane, but it's more a case of she'll be able to cleave through some stuff so that the stuff we need to get into the Reaver can, because she'll be like a first wave, basically. And she can tank a lot of stuff, which is really handy. But the actual HQ choice of this attachment is a Lord Commissar, completely bare bones, no upgrades at all. You might think, why aren't you taking a company command squad for the same points cost? The simple reason is it's not going to benefit us because we're not really utilising orders, and we'd rather have the Commissar taking up an HQ slot for a start and sat in this big blob of 40 guardsmen. That's right, 4 infantry squads and a platoon command squad, just completely bog standard, absolutely zero upgrades. For the simple reason of 40 bodies is something you've got to focus on. You've got to chew through it. If you ignore it, that's a massive blob that could either tie up the Reaver, tie up other stuff. It's got the Zealot from the Priest. It's got the Commissar Summary Execution, which is practically fearless. It's got the orders if you want to use them, and with the Commissar being able to issue an order and leadership 10 on him when he's in the unit, it means they're likely to get off the order anyway, so we don't really need to spend too much on that extra stuff, really, to utilise orders like we would with the command squad. So these guys are just going to be walking up the field, pretty much all the way up the field. They'll just trudge however they fancy. They're all bog standard, like I said, no upgrades, and their job is to bog stuff down and to dish out a little bit of small arms fire. They're taking with them a Vendetta as well, because we thought, well, 3 twin link las cannons up against the Reaver Titan is almost a must in some senses. Hopefully some other stuff will strip off the hull points for the void shields, and this will come in for a couple of killer blows. And again, it has no real anti-air, so something else will have to fire at the Vendetta in order to deal with it. Now you might say, oh, you're bringing a flyer when your opponent might not be. Whilst that's true, our opponent's also bringing a Reaver Titan. I think that's awesome, don't get me wrong. I am so excited to be facing off against it. But in this situation, with a 4,000 point game, 3 twin link las cannons is not going to be game breaking. And it's 170 points on the dot. Yeah, so it's quite expensive. We are also taking a bog standard Lehman Russ with a dozer blade. No other upgrades, because once you take the battle cannon, there's no point spending the extra points on the side sponsons. But we did give it, like I said, a dozer blade just to not screw up in turn 1. Now we have a detachment of Space Marines, which are the Black Templars that Harry's been painting up. So, in the Black Templars list, we have an Emperor's Champion. So, I love this guy. He's so cool. His instant deaths on 6s and stuff. He's fearless. He's okay in combat for a start. He's got, the Black Sword. I think that's so cool. I just really like pretty much everything about this guy. And he's quite decent for 140 points, really. Only 2 wounds, which is the only downside, but he's probably going to be going up against stuff that's either going to insta-kill him or just chop through him anyway, so 2 wounds isn't a big deal. Now, in this, we have a unit of Crusaders, which is split perfectly down the middle. They'll be in a Rhino. They've got 5 Initiates and 5 Neophytes. The Neophytes basically Scouts, and the Initiates are basically Marines. Now, the very cool thing you can do is you can give like heavy/special weapon guys upgrades in the Black Templars Codex of a power weapon. So he's just taking, so Harry's bringing basically a unit of 10 with bolt guns. All of them have bolt guns, and in there is a power axe, but it's not on a sergeant, so he can't get challenged out, if you like, which is really handy. It basically means we can kind of I'm trying to think of the best way of explaining it. So we can hide the killer stuff in there. So if we're taking on a unit that has something like a 2-up save, the power axe isn't just going to get challenged out and killed. It comes in at initiative step 1, hopefully, and blows through it later on instead of being targeted. We then have a 5-man Crusader squad with exactly the same thing, just a power axe, and they're just going to be walking around. Another target, a bit MSU, possibly just sort of mopping up stuff, sitting on objectives, because we'll hopefully be playing a Maelstrom of War game, because objectives are going to be a nice equaliser with this Reaver. And we have a Scout squad with camera cloaks and sniper rifles, and the Veteran Sergeant upgrade on the Sergeant for the extra leadership. This will tie in later on when I go over what else I'm bringing with my Dark Angels, but we really wanted a couple of sort of backfield, objective holding, sit in cover kind of guys. And we can be a bit tricky with deployment with them as well, which is always handy. I like having options at least. So we're also taking then a bog standard tactical squad with a las cannon. That's it. No other upgrades, and a bog standard tactical squad with a missile launcher. So again, part of that MSU sitting at the back in terrain, and they will be plinking away at stuff that needs to be downed or needs to be slowed down. So obviously, like we said, the Reaver's going to be really hard to deal with. We've got the Knight for the combat. Hopefully we can get it up there, but to help chop away at things that might slow the Knight down, we've got these extra units, and there's only so many things the Reaver can actually target a turn. 3, I believe. Now, obviously, it's going to wipe out almost everything it targets because it's that strong. However, by giving it so many targets, you are limiting its damage output in a turn. That's kind of the plan. We're also taking an assault squad with a flamer in there, and the sergeant has melter bombs and is a veteran. And again, that's just to jump around, be a bit of a nuisance, maybe take out a tank or something, a rhino, whatever it might be. But they've all been given jump packs. Again, it's that first wave, a bit of speed. Might end up attaching Celestine to it just to give her some extra bodies to go with. Not 100% sure yet, but that might be the case. And lastly, we have an attack bike squad with a multi-melter. So this isn't a Raven Wing one, this is just one that Harry has. And again, it's just something to cause a nuisance. It's a single unit of one model. You have to focus a fire on it in some respect, so it's not going to be too bad. Okay, so now we come to my small combined arms detachment of Dark Angels, and it's basically just characters, because I like characters. So first of all, we have my lovely company master, who has been painted up by Mike, actually. I painted up a Blood Angels captain for him, and in return he painted a company master for me, which I thought was really nice. And it's a beautiful model. It's fully magnetised, so I can take whatever I like, but his flavour, his story, the way he plays, is a coward. So what I've given him is a bolt pistol and a plasma pistol, and the Shroud of Heroes, which is Feel No Pain, and when he's not in a unit, he gains Shrouded. And because I personally don't like playing with others, I mean that's not true, obviously I like playing the game, but I'm not amazing at socialising and stuff like that. I thought, you know, he gets a buff when he's on his own, like nothing really fits me as a character more than this guy, so that's kind of why I've done that. And yep, so he's got the Artificer armour for the 2-up save, Iron Halo, Shroud of Heroes, and then a couple of pistols. I'm also taking a Tech Marine. Now I had a bit of a problem with the Tech Marine in the sense that I couldn't actually get the upgrades I wanted to because they weren't logged, but he is taking, these 2 servitors actually represent a relic of Caliban. It's the Lion's Roar. It's basically a combi plasma, but the shot is an Assault 1 blast, which means you can fire it in charge. He's kind of there for that, basically. Should be really helpful. Probably stick them in a unit of Terminators, see if they can just weaken whatever they're going to charge. I'm also taking 2 troop units. The first one is a scout squad with camo cloaks and sniper rifles, veteran sergeant. Now the reason I'm taking one of those and Harry is taking one of those is because we've got the Tech Marine bolstering one of the ruin saves in our deployment zone. So the first thing I was thinking is, okay, yes, the Titan has barrage, but it doesn't necessarily have ignores cover. Now camo cloaks, Tech Marine, ruins, and you get yourself a 2-up cover save on scouts. And obviously that's going to be pretty handy. So the thought was a couple of units that might be hard to chew through unless you dedicate firepower to them. They're not hugely damage output like, they don't have that damage output, but what they do have is objective grabbing capabilities. So again, something important to think of, and obviously we've got a limited number of resources between the 2 of us, but we are hoping that these kind of joint resources can be used in an effective manner. Next up I've got a 10-man tactical squad fully kitted out with grav cannon, plasma gun, and the sergeant is a veteran sergeant, sorry, and a rhino with a dozer blade. So again, a big unit, just some firepower. I'll probably combat squad them down, there's no point in not doing it. Sergeant and plasma gun with 1 unit, grav cannon maybe sat in some cover, I don't know yet at the moment. Obviously it would depend how the table's set up when we get there, excuse me, but a lot of it is giving us options, like I said. And we also have the Inquisitorial detachment. So this is quite a fun one. The Inquisitorial detachment is obviously led by Celestine, as I mentioned earlier. She's a really good choice because she is that kind of unkillable foe, if you like, and we want that. And we want the attacks she can put out as well. But the reason we took the Inquisitorial Warband Henchman wasn't for her. It was in fact for this. Now, the funny thing is, the Chimera, okay? So First off, a Chimera normally has 3 fire points, which is awesome. But an Inquisitorial Chimera has 5, for whatever reason that might be. And what it allows us to do is to pop in 10 guys. One of them is rocking, 3 of them, sorry, are rocking multi-melters, and they can all fire out the top, as can 2 lasguns, which is pretty cool. Obviously the lasguns are useless, but the idea originally was thinking, well, you know, if we ever have the opportunity to put strong weapons in there, at least we can fire extra stuff, you know. Space Marines might end up getting in that Chimera later on in the game and just popping off 5 bolters a turn, which is not something to be, you know, scoffed at. Obviously the Chimera can hold 12 as well, which is super handy. We have given it a Doze Blade, I think it goes without saying, but everyone's very bog standard in that unit. And we also are taking a formation after formation after formation, I know, but we are taking the Hellrain Brigade formation, which is a Militarum Tempestus start collecting box formation, which involves a Commissar, a Tempestus Command Squad, a Tempestus Scion Squad, and a Taurox Prime. Now, this is a really nice little formation. What it's going to allow us to do is hide the Commissar forever, and in return, the Tempestus Scion Squad that we've got, whenever they're killed, they just go into ongoing reserves and they can deep strike afterwards, which is super handy if you think about it like this. What it gives us is 2 melter guns a turn that we can just drop in consequence free. They'll all die and then they come back next turn. We hope they all die, and if they're not targeted, then we've still got them, which is really, really handy. I really like that kind of, I don't like the mechanic in the game because it's extra 3 points, but I do like the way that you have to, it does rely on the Commissar being alive, so we do need to really protect him somehow. And the command squad is just armed with 2 hotshot volley guns, really good for damage output. They're a salvo 2-4, 24-inch range, so you just plonk them, or 18 maybe, you just plonk them down, I think it is 24, and you sit them in some cover and they dish out 8 AP3 shots at strength 4, super handy. And the Taurox Prime again, missile launcher, twin-linked autocannon, just some small, some anti-light vehicle stuff kicking around, never hurts. And I do believe that's everything in this list. So, like I said, this was just sort of to show you what we're taking up there, basically. I do know for certain that Mike has taken up the Reaver Titan. Whatever else goes up with that, we're hoping to have some stuff to deal with. We've pretty much taken the basis that the Reaver's going to be really hard unless we get lucky. So let's focus on making sure we can hold objectives and control the board, and then go from there. So like I said, it's open to tweaking. We've got about 10 points spare, maybe whack some melter bombs on some sergeants or something, I don't know yet. But again, tie up that Reaver in combat with the big blob, or attack it with the Knight. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be absolutely exciting, and I'm really looking forward to the game. We are going to do a battle report, of course, and I am sort of checking my equipment this evening in order for it to be, you know, fully serviceable when we're up there. And it'll be an end-of-term battle report. We'll do some cool sweeping shots, hopefully, and really have it flowing. What I'm going to do before we go up, in fact, is a little narrative background story video thing that's going to show you sort of the reasons why we're fighting and give it a bit more flavour, hopefully. Either that, or I will record that when I'm there, because then I can see the table, but I will start formulating ideas and then add the table stuff into my base plan, because I want it to be narrative, I want it to be cool and exciting like that. So thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave those comments below. Also don't forget to check out Mike's channel, Crew Arangulicilis. You'll see it in our favorited channels on our homepage, or if I remember, a little thing will pop up here and let you know to go and check him out. And yes, so stick around, obviously we'll have plenty more updates, and I'm hoping to do some either live streaming for like half an hour or something on the day, or a recap vlog, or you'll see us on Twitter and Facebook throughout the day, basically just letting you know what's going on. So yes, like I said, thank you ever so much for watching, guys. It's been me, Callum, from Tabletop Banter. Don't forget, have fun.